Subordinate Temple 12. We're glad to see everybody. We're happy everybody can get out. We're right in the middle of our celebrating of our Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, and we've really been enjoying it. Is everybody fasting? Okay. Who's not fasting? Everybody's not. Okay.
Not today.
So yeah, it's wonderful. If you're not fasting, you can start fasting. You can start fasting even now and get some days in, because there's days that you may miss that you can make back up, but it's still all worth a lot. Still all worth a lot. These are the times that you want to try to improve upon yourself the most during the month of Ramadan, because there's a lot of blessings involved. And you can also catch the night of power, which comes up within the last 10 days of Ramadan, which is like 1,000, like you fasted 1,000 months. That's some of the hadith on that. Like you fasted 1,000. Could you imagine the credit for 1,000 months of fasting?
That's a lot.
Y'all probably won't even live 1,000 months.
Nope.
You know, y'all, because you know y'all kind of die soon.
For real?
Right.
That's what you want.
I'm just saying that. It wouldn't die. Nobody ain't say nothing.
You're striving to be better.
You live longer?
If that's what better is. We don't know what better is. That's all up to us.
I'm just gonna live forever.
Technically, we could if we froze ourselves for long enough.
I'm not.
We're stuck in this carnal state. So yeah, we had the topic for the day is forgiveness, and that corresponds directly with the next 10 days of Ramadan. You seek the forgiveness of Allah during the next 10 days.
Wow. Can you, because this is I'm with you. I'm with you. So this is those next 10 days. Can you recap really quick what the first 10, second 10, and the last 10 are?
Oh, well, the first 10 we did last week was the mercy.
Right.
So we have this one, we have the forgiveness, and then after that we have basically the emancipation from hellfire. That's you relieving yourself from all of the stress and the things of life that brings you hell.
Woohoo! Oh,
so that's all of those people, all of those things. You know, you just want to try to relieve yourself of those things. So that's what's bringing you hell. And basically the prophet has told us that it is our practices that bring us to that point. That we've done that. He said he walked through the South during the time of slavery, and what he saw was that the actions of his people is what was a sinful act, is what kept them in slavery. So that's what's going on with us. Our actions is what's keeping us down. Our inability to accept the law on the law's terms. We want to bastardize it, make it what we want it, mix it with Christianity. We want to do all this other stuff so we can do it, and it don't work. But if we follow what's prescribed for us, we will quickly find that we're more successful. Islam?
Islam.
So, did anybody have any questions or anything concerning the fast, concerning Ramadan, or just in general before we get started? We always try to start with that.
I got a question.
You always do.
I know, that's right. The questionator. I'm giddy with Ramadan spirit. I'm a questionator. But so you asked who all was doing it. I want to know, how is everybody doing? Even those who are not fasting, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Because our vibrations, those of us who are, and even if you're not fasting, perhaps you're praying. How are you feeling? Are you feeling better, lighter, different? How are you feeling? I'm so scared to ask him.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. My fast for that day, I feel like it changed.
Okay, so this is this little young brother right here decided that he was going to attempt it. He said, "Mom, I want to attempt it. I want to attempt it one day and see how it goes." And he attempted it. So it's good to hear that.
I think I'm gonna try another day.
Okay, that's fine.
We make progress every day.
Every day. Somebody else, how are you doing? Yes.
Every Ramadan, I'm really aggressive, like in everything. Because, you know, I'm a mom of 5 and I'm doing my own business. I'm really aggressive. Tables turn a little more calm, more passive.
Yeah.
And like, it's totally not me, but I do feel calm actually like the light from it. So
Islam.
really relaxed.
Islam.
I'm gonna have to keep a little bit of Ramadan in my pocket for you. This is your it's a passive sign here, you know. So to be ready.
I think I grabbed on to some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's good because we need that. We need that hype in there. And anybody else? But how the fast is doing? Who here is their first fast? Brother.
I feel more energized.
Right.
I feel having the discipline better.
Right.
Before I was like first though, I don't know. Working out in the mornings, I was doing 2 a days. Thirsty, but I held up, and each day by day it's getting better.
Right.
Actually, I'm doing more than 30 days.
Right.
Islam.
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, noticing my energy, spiritually as well.
Right. Right. And the sister.
I feel like when I first started off, I was more disciplined and I was into my Quran more.
Mhm.
And like this last couple of days, because they've been having me flow to different hospitals, and I've been slacking because I've been reading off my Quran.
Mhm.
And I mean, not reading into my Quran, and I feel like the temptation's back. Like, oh, I'm hungry. I need to eat something light. Whereas to when I was focused and really reading and praying, that it wasn't even like on my conscious mind to want me to eat and everything. So I can really see
Excuse
the
me,
difference.
sister. Is that Chris's phone?
Are we back on the phone again?
His iPhone, so- Oh, thank you.
So,
I lost mine.
yeah. What'd you say?
I lost mine.
You go? Okay.
Fine.
That's good. Get you an Android. You'll be better.
Fine.
Islam, the brother in the back?
It's the class is forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you should take that in.
The brother is forgiving us about the thing with his phone. We accept his forgiveness. But yeah, that the as time go on, you do kind of go back and forth wavering, but for the most part, you end up with a lot better concentration as you go throughout the day, and it happens in stages. Just like when you'll be a lot better once you get to the last 30 days.
The last third?
Or the last.
I mean-
The first 30, the middle 30, and the last 30. We real about this, But yeah, the last 10 days you'll be a little bit more focused. You'll feel like, man, I can do this, if I needed to, no problem.
I'm doing that. I felt like the next day after doing that fast, I had woke up earlier and I had felt it was like I was focused more.
Right. Especially after the fast, you feel a success. That's what it is. You feel success, and and it lets you know what success really truly feels like. It's not about all of those superficial things. It's about personal things that we endeavor to do for our own betterment, for the pleasure of Allah, for our spirit. And when you succeed in those things, you feel what truly success feels like. So when you're doing something and you don't get that particular kind of feeling, then it may be something off key. You know what I mean? Because you're giving something of yourself, you're not asking for anything back, and you're succeeding. So that's the thing that we want to focus on.
And I invite you to, as we talk about these things that feel different, because I feel lighter. I'm like, I'm quick though. I'm like, come on, let's get it going. But that's because I think I'm more alert than I was prior to Ramadan. And a lot of it might have to do with what I'm eating, how I'm eating, the amount of sleep. Now that can't be it because I get less now, but I don't need as much.
Right.
But I invite you all to think about those things that you removed from your life while you were doing this, and how to consider leaving them out of your life as you go forward outside of Ramadan, because those things obviously aren't serving a good purpose for you. So I invite you all to consider that.
One of those things is your tongue. See how well governed your tongue is during Ramadan? It's governed real well during Ramadan, see? As opposed to, just letting it come out. So those are the things we want to practice after Ramadan. But and you do get better regardless. You get a little bit better, and it lasts longer. So, may take a month or two after Ramadan before you start sliding off a little bit and start having to check it. before then, all of those practices become habit, and you just your regular self. You know that.
And remember to check it. We check other people. Be sure we checking ourselves too.
Okay, we're gonna get started here with the forgiveness, and we got a little bit to travel. We got a little bit to go over. We're gonna travel kind of fast. If you got questions, feel free to stop me. We're gonna look in the first chapter of our Quran. Everybody got the Quran out? Look in the first chapter, which you don't do very much in that first chapter, huh? We're gonna do a class over that first chapter. You might have to take 2 classes. Oh, we don't have the extra Qurans either? We got. Okay. In this first chapter, we're gonna go with in the middle of I think we're in the middle of page 5, and I'm gonna read from there. Is everybody look on page 5? In the middle of that first paragraph, that's a real long paragraph right there. Right about the middle of it, it starts with man is the Lord. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, it says there, man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthright just to satisfy his lower self. So man decided to explore his lower self. He gave up his birthright, knowing full well he's given it up to all of these things. The birthright is to all these things. The Lord over all of these things, all that is. He gave that all up just to explore his lower self. So see, when they say the lower self is strong, he gave up kingdoms just because of his lower self. So that was what he's decided to do. Now, do anybody not get what he's saying here? Got a question about that? Because that's why this is in the first, that's why that's in the first part. And you'll notice that there's no numbers in here. It's just a straight story. It's in story form, straight out. So, and it all goes together. It sets the stage. So, you know that man is the Lord of all these things, but he gave all of this up so that he could satisfy his lower self. So the lower self was beckoning and begging and pleading with him to be satisfied doing these things constantly, time and time, year in, year out, ages. Who knows how long the lower self was begging to do it, you know? So it's like the brother when he trying to get the wife, begging for years, won't stop. Come on.
Add it.
You know? I remember I seen my wife, I said, don't nobody want to marry you with your ugly self. She said, yes, you do. And that's how we got married.
He was like, okay, you're right.
You got me. But so that's the thing, is that the lower self is not something that all of a sudden jumped out of somewhere. This is a concept that we believe from Christianity, that somehow the devil just comes and gets you in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But this is not a true concept, even though we know that's not the true concept of it in doing Christianity at all. But the concept of being something happening to you instantly, as opposed to something developing because of your actions, something developed to a particular point. So as we developed as man, as spirit and soul, and all that began to develop, the lower self developed also. And the carnal mindset developed also until it began to plead with the higher self to be satisfied. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say just, I want what I want. He wanted to be satisfied. I want to live a particular way. I want my deen. I want to be a different deen than the one that Allah provided for us. A way of life differently. Let's do these things. You know, so that's how it came about eating flesh and all these other things. So this is a way of life that's taking place. So this is the what we got going on now you know, what we have going on. And so when we go through Ramadan, we're saying what? Holy, you know, I'm not trying to hear that lower self. This is all higher self stuff.
The Lord self said, you see me, I'm a big old tall glass of water.
He
You see
bleeding.
me, come on
He
over here,
bleeding.
you know you thirsty.
Right, he pleading with you constantly and consistently. Islam?
Islam.
Okay, now we're gonna keep that in mind. Any questions on that? We're gonna keep that in mind. We're gonna move on to chapter 19. XIX. Page 31, I believe. Well, we're gonna shoot through some of this. No, I'm wrong. Yeah, page 30. And we're gonna go right down to 11. And I'm gonna read through this, and then you can
Poor Quran.
just look
Poor
at
Quran.
my Quran. Still hanging on though. Okay, 11. And Jesus said, behold, for I am risen from the dead. Look at my hands and my feet, my side. The Roman soldier pierced my hand and feet with nails, and then one pierced my heart. They put me in a tomb, and then I wrestled with the conqueror of men. I conquered death. I stamped upon him in a rose. Okay, this is at this particular time, Jesus has died and has rearisen. And he was in a tomb, and he escaped. All these things has happened. This is before the age of 30 years old that he's doing this. Now he's going about and he's speaking to the people that he spoke to before while he was learning. Like early on when we was reading about Jesus and David was actually being taught together, in different sages and different organizations were actually teaching them these old teachings, these ancient teachings. Yeah. So this is how. So now he don't pass, and he's back on the scene making appearances in different places. Now he's making one such appearance now, and he said that the Roman soldiers pierced my hand and feet with nails, and then they pierced my heart. He says that they put me in a tomb, and then I wrestled with the conqueror of men. Who is the conqueror of men? Yeah. Death. He said that death. So when people go out and they fight wars and they go, hey, I'm going to win this war and take all your land. I'm going to win this war and do all this. They're but controlled by the true conqueror to create death and mayhem and cause mischief. So that's what they're doing when they fight in the war, because Allah is peace. There is no war in Allah. It's at peace. If me and you thinking the same thing, what we gonna have a war about? Don't work out. So that's why you don't see the atmosphere fighting with the trees fighting with the birds. You don't see those things happening. Why? Because those things are in accordance to the way Allah made things. So things that's not in causes war. So that's where the war starts at. Nobody's gonna win. Nobody's gonna win because they're fighting. Islam? So the conqueror of men, so this is what Jesus said. He's conquered death. And I stamped upon him in a rose. Now, do anybody got something to say about that? That's a pretty deep statement. But what does he mean by that? He conquered death.
That he didn't die.
He didn't die. Was anybody else? What does he mean by that? Because something got to give here.
That
He was born again. Sister say in the back. Anybody else?
Pretty much him saying that he's not his flesh.
He's not his flesh. That's what he said. We're gonna keep on going. Anybody else? He said he's conquered death.
Yeah, I think you said.
Right. But do we all agree that this is a monumental statement here?
Monumental statement.
Right. I mean, how can we, I'm completely fascinated by this statement that death has been conquered, and we had to do that. So we got death, then he's got okay, we're gonna keep on reading. He said, I brought immortality to light and painted on the walls of time a rainbow for the sons of men. And what I did, all men shall do. So is he saying then that all people is gonna conquer death?
Islam.
Did he say?
Islam. There, yeah, I got something for you.
Oh, go ahead.
So seeing as how there's another verse in there that talks about where there was never a time when man was not. The flesh may have died, but man, spirit man, never died.
Yeah, man, never.
Always lives.
Mhm.
So there's a time when we may face death and the body and may fall away. But the spirit man is always going to conquer death because it's always going to be there.
Islam. Anybody else on that? So he says, so what I do, all men shall do. The baby had her say. So the gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined to Jew and Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime. And I am here a demonstrator of the power of man. So he's saying that it's not a Greek or Jew. Is it Irish? Is it Jamaican? Is it just Puerto Rican? What is it? What's going on? Is it Cherokee?
It's everyone, every spirit man.
So he's saying then, he said that the gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined. It is not confined to your nationality or your heritage or just you. It's not confined to your people or those people or them people. That's what Jesus is saying. He's saying that it is the heritage of every man of every time. So what about people that died before Jesus was born? He said every time.
Time is not linear. Time is cyclic. So if we're talking about cycles, just like you mentioned last week, that there are days, and there's 7 days, those 7 days repeat themselves. So that is every time. That is everybody, every time, all the time, because there was not a time when man was not. Never
a time. And he said, then he arose and pressed the hand of every man and of the royal host and said, now, why do you think he got up and touched everybody's hand?
So they could feel he was real.
Islam. Right. So they can feel that he was real. Even though they're looking at him, they still may be thinking, this is some kind of ghost that's talking to me. So he's sitting here talking to me, but he's not really full of substance. So he went to each person's hand and he touched them and they touched his hand.
Or I'm hallucinating.
Right.
And I'm not going to say nothing because somebody else in the room might not be seeing it. So we going to all pretend we not seeing this.
Anybody going to say this? And he said, behold, I am not myth made of the fleeting winds, for I am flesh and bone and brawn, but I can cross the borderland at will. What borderland? Anybody know what borderland he's talking about? He said he's flesh and bone, but he can cross the borderland at will. What borderland? Christopher? Christian? Huh?
Spirit plane.
The spirit plane? Okay, who else?
Islam, brother in the back said something.
What'd you say, brother?
Islam, the border between life and death.
Border between life and death. Anybody else? In agreement, disagreement, or different answer? Huh?
Pretty much from the plane of soul and the plane of manifest.
Islam. Anybody else? So yeah, so that's what he's saying. All of those answers is correct. All those answers is true. He's saying now that even though he's flesh, he can still cross the borders of the soul plane and the spirit plane. He said he can cross back at will.
That makes me think about meditation.
He said at will. He can do this at will, right? He said, and they talked to, and they talked together there a long time. And then Jesus said, I go my way, but you shall go to all the world and teach the gospel of the omnipotence of men, the power of truth, the resurrection of the dead. Now he said the power of what? Truth. Now what is the truth? He said he teach the power of truth and resurrection. So what's the power of the truth?
That we are all a thought of a lie, manifested in flesh.
And man shall never die. Man shall never die. You cannot die. he got the power of resurrection. So death is not a true issue or concern. So let's read on. He who believes this gospel of the Son of Man shall never die. The dead shall live again. Jesus disappeared, but he had sown the seed. The word of life was spoken in Orius, and all of India heard. The Magians priests were in the silence of Persepolis and Casper, and the Magians masters who were first to greet the child of promise in the shepherd's home in Bethlehem were with the priest. You know who they're talking about? They met the first to meet the shepherd in the shepherd's home. Remember the 3 wise men? That's that tale of what you're talking about. So they was the first to meet him. He said, and Jesus came and sat with them. A crown of light was on his head. And when the silence ended, Casper said, a master from the royal council of the Silent Brotherhood is here. Let us grieve, let us give praise. And all the priests and masters stood and said, all hail, what message from the royal council do you bring? And Jesus said, my brothers of the Silent Brotherhood. So that is the question of, was Jesus in the Silent Brotherhood? But he said, my brothers of the Silent Brotherhood, peace on earth, goodwill to men. The problem of the ages has been solved. A son of man has risen from the dead, has shown that human flesh can be transformed into flesh divine. Okay, now we need to find out what's going on. He's saying here that they had a problem that had been age-old problem. Everybody knew that we were supposed to be able to survive death, but nobody had done it. And they had went through many different rituals of acts to try to perfect it, and it never worked. No one ever claimed that they had came back. So this was him coming to say an age-old problem has been solved. The problem was the barrier between life and death. So he said he had returned through the barrier. And he said, and he has shown that human flesh can be transformed into flesh divine. Now, what is the difference between flesh and flesh divine? What makes something divine?
Allah.
Yes, Allah does, but it's something that we do that can make something divine. Like for instance, we can have, what you say, sister? Right, you become perfected, but there's a process. Like when we say we're gonna be resolute. Do everybody remember we had the conversation about becoming resolute? Come to that, you break it down to a particular flat line, where you're gonna begin from, and that's it. Then you're gonna build from that systematically. So when you become resolute with your soul, your higher self and your soul, and you build upon that, it becomes divine. And the reasoning of the soul becomes divine reasoning, right? Because it has the knowledge of the higher self. So once you become to that point, you become divine, you become a divine being. And see, now barriers don't exist. That's why prophets didn't have them buried. They said, we left. His body was still here, but he was gone. And he came back and said, hey, look, this is what I saw when I was gone. I was traveling and I seen this and I seen that. So we have the ability to do divine things once we become divine beings. But we can't become divine beings until we first subdue our lower self, till we make our lower self become divine, till it submit. The Prophet Muhammad said that he had a jinn, and we all had jinns, meaning that lower self. He said he made his submitted, so his jinn became Muslim. That's what he said. So all of the fasting that you see prophets do is for that particular purpose, is to bring that lower self into harmony with the higher self, and then you have divine reasoning. You can act it out in this physical realm. You know, the other time, because it's not possible for me I can't knock this thing over without this arm. You know, I can think hard as I want to, it's not gonna move. You know, that's not gonna work. But I have the ability just as majestically to cause this arm to hit it. Because when you think about it, I'm my higher self, and I'm telling this body to do something, and it's doing it instantly. Why? Because I said it. I have the ability
You
to.
said that was some force.
Right, I said that. Right. So we have that ability. This is amazing things, you know. So he said, now it can be transformed into flesh divine. Before the eyes of men, this flesh in which I come to you was changed with speed of light from human flesh, and so I am the message that I bring you. So he telling them that they said, what is the message that you bring? He said, I'm the message that I bring. That you seen me walking around in flesh, and you know that I was dead, and you know that I spent 3 days dead, and now I'm back. So this is the message is me, this body that I bring you, that your body is like this body, and that you can do what I done. So he's telling them that this is the message. But he said now earlier, you see, he said, if you just believe, right? So the people that they ain't got a chance, they just don't believe at all. So he said, to you I come, the first of all the race. Wait a minute. What do you mean the first of all the race? The race of what?
Humanity.
The race of man. Did he say racist? So you got a key right there. How many races is it? One. Makes it clear for you. You know, so we had Asiatic people, we have European people, but you only gonna, if you're human, you gotta be in this race with us. If you're not human, you gotta be something else. You know. So he said to be transmuted to the image of Allah. Transmuted. What does transmuted mean?
Somebody look it up.
Somebody better look it up. We don't know the definition. We better look it up. Huh? Say it? I can't tell you.
Nope, can't tell you.
T-R-A-N. You should be able to spell that. T-R-A-N-S-M-U-T-E-D.
Change in form, nature, or substance.
Right. So he's saying he was of race. He was of human, and he said he transmuted to the image of Allah. He changed to that image. Now, the image of Allah is one that is hard to conceive. It is say for those of a carnal mind. So those is thinking with their brain that, hey, this, that, that's that, and this is what Allah is. It's not that. Allah is what? Right, it's art. It's a thought, and you is a thought of Allah. So everything in Allah happens with thought. There's no physical part of it. So how are you going to conceive of that in your mind? So he said transmuted. It has to be changed. The essence of it has to be of difference. Islam? So he said, what I have done, all men will do, and what I am, all men shall be. But Jesus said no more. In one short breath, he told the story of his mission to sons of men. And then he disappeared. Okay, he said his mission, he said, the Magi said, some time ago we read this promise, now fulfilled upon the dial plate of heaven. And then we saw this man who has just demonstrated unto us the power of man to rise from carnal flesh and blood to flesh of Allah, a babe in Bethlehem. So he said he's seen him rise. He came to that point. He came to the point beyond his flesh. He superseded it, and that we all can do that. And he said he was a mission. Now, what is the mission that he's on? He said that Jesus had a mission. What was his mission? The mission was
Perfecting my lower self.
Yeah, that was his. Everybody's got that one. And
Wasn't it to bring peace on earth?
yes, he said, and goodwill to men. When he said that, and he said his mission his mission was to who? Right, to men, the sons of men. He said that his mission was to the sons of men. And if we look back to chapter 2, 17, you'll see where it says, where it says, and you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. See? So he's saying the sons of men was Jesus' mission. That's where he was going, to the sons of men. So that's his mission. Now, and he, like the young brother said, he's working on his lower self. And he had to work on his lower self in order to get to the point to perfect his mission to the sons of men. Because he went in and he went down, he went into the woods and he stayed there for 40 days, fasting and contemplating with his lower self, so that he can get to a point that he would be able to be successful. So all of that was for his mission for the sons of men. So that's his mission. That was his cousin's mission also. That's the prophet's mission. Noble Drew Ali mission was to the sons of men. That's the other prophet's mission, to the sons of men. So what's your mission? To the sons of men. You have to provide this guidance to the sons of men by your example. Jesus came to him and said what? He said, I am. This body is the message.
I am.
Right. I'm telling you what I did. The brother told me, man, hey, I used to be this and that and the other. I did all these bad things. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm not that person. Now I'm different. I'm better. I'm more. What's the brother telling me? You see? So he's the message to me. Now what he talking about, he himself was the message to me, because I know he was a mess back in the day. You know,
And I am is a strong declarative statement. Yeah. I am. Mm-hmm. So when you say I am, realize that you are embodying those things that you say that you are. And actually believe it. Don't just throw it out there, because that's a strong statement. And if you believe that you are those things, if you want to be those things, start claiming them. Be those things.
Right. So we see that being conscious of your mission to the sons of men. All right, being conscious of your missions to the Son of Men. Now, if we go back to chapter 1, and everybody get back to chapter 1 here, and we look at the second, it's going to be the second paragraph, just down from the one we were just reading in, the second paragraph. It's going to be where it says, thus hope will ever, is it right here? It's about 2 or 3, it's the second, it's about 2 or 3 from the last of the paragraph. Second, you see the second paragraph? You see the word thus? It's on page 5. Anybody got it? Page 5? On page 5, the second paragraph of page 5. Nobody still has it? Islam. Okay. Yeah, I'm checking. Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody. Nobody's responding. Y'all see us? I see y'all looking like, you know, they just got to the part, start reading. They got interested. Boy, that must have been a good part. Okay, but it says here, it says thus. It says thus. Hope will ever be his beacon light. There is no failure for the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is sure. So he's saying there is no failure for the human soul, and that all you must have, what you must look for is hope. And you will find it. Just look for hope. Whenever you think everything is going wrong, find something that you can see that's hopeful. And keep going. He said that is a beacon. That is the light. Hope is your beacon. It'll keep you moving forward, because there's no failure in the soul. There's no failure. See? So you don't have to have that as a thing. Now, why? We're talking about forgiveness. Why do I read this at such a time? And it's because our failure to one, to believe in the fact that we can't die, that we're going to be transformed. We don't believe that. If we don't believe that, and we go about through our lives, we start to age faster, and a whole lot of other things happen because of fear. There's a big hype about the fear of death. Even when you watch all of the movies, and I have to let you know that this affects you, because when you watch movies, you see in the movie, and it brings the anticipation to the most dreaded thing ever. What is it? You're gonna die. When that for us is not the most dreaded thing ever. The most dreaded thing ever is the fear that you gonna die when you ain't. So, and that's what causes you the problem. So we have to seek forgiveness from Allah for our fear. We have fear that we might overeat. We have fear that we might do this. We have fear that we might lose our cool. We got fear that we might die. We got all these fears. When he says that hope is a beacon of light for us. So we don't have to fear anything. Islam. So we have to ask for forgiveness for all of these fears that we have, that we let control and rule our lives, and we misguide men, the sons of men, by teaching them to do the things that we do, have fear, and then react to these fears. So we teaching the wrong thing. When Jesus came, his body showed them the truth, that there is no death that man should fear, because he's conquered the age-old problem. You see? Now, how do you maintain that state of mind? I can only tell you by tuning in, by staying in tune with this class and learning the things that you need to learn so that you won't fear anything. Because fear is what causes you to age faster than you're supposed to age. Fear is what causes death. It's stress. When people go, you're stressing too much. What's wrong? Oh, man, I got bills coming. I got this happening. You know what? If you don't pay that bill, you're still going to be here. Islam?
No, Islam, not to mention, just imagine how many times you have that same thought in a lifetime. Because every month you get the same bill. So how many times have you regurgitated that same thought to add that stress to you?
It seems like fear is the only sin.
It is. That's why we hear on that. If you can get around this, you're gonna be immensely better. And do you wonder why your bills come every month? Why you moving through solar eclipses? You're moving through, and when you make it into another one, you know what? That one's gone. So I got to put more pressure on you in the new circle, the new piece of time, so to speak. I got to keep you month for month. I got to keep you involved with this pressure on you of these bills, so that you can stay under stress. Because if I don't, if the bill only come once I don't pay it, it's over with. Now I got 11 months peace.
So what I hear you saying
So
is
it's designed that way.
So then every time something like that presents itself, it also presents us with an opportunity to actually look at what is positive and what does exist and what is good, and to look at that hope.
That hope, it tells you, hope is a beacon. That's serious. That's like when people was out at sea and the lighthouse would come on, that's a beacon. They was grateful. It was the smog was out there, or it was dark, they couldn't see, and they coming in, they don't know if they're gonna hit the rocks or what. But when they see that lighthouse, they know just go beeline to that lighthouse. We're gonna be all right. You know, so that's the same thing. Whatever hope you see, it's a beacon. Go forward, and you're gonna be all right. Don't let yourself get beat up, and death is gonna happen only to the body. Nothing's gonna happen to you. Not gonna happen. You'll exist immortally. Islam? Anybody have any doubt of that? If you do, you need to keep
Now
coming.
you're trying to get people in trouble.
You gotta keep coming. So failure to believe is fear. Failure to believe is fear. And fear of death is failure. It's over with. If you right now in a state of fear and death, it's over with. It's failure.
Well, how can you live if all you're thinking about is the fear of
Well,
death?
you closer to death in the sense of what you're talking about now than you will be after your body passes. Your ideal concept of death, you more closer to it now than you are after your body passes. You more free as you go than you will ever be. You being held hostage right now, which is why we have to have a divine understanding with our lower self. We have to bring it to a divinity. We have to bring it to a divine stage, because it won't work. That carnal part is going to be strong. It brought us into this, that carnalness. Islam? And it said, So, I got one more thing I'm gonna read here. This is out of our excerpts from the Moore's Guide here, and this is from, it say, organizations growth enormous, temples in all principal cities. And it says here, the many secrets of Jesus and the prophet of this religion are given to the members of the temples as fast as they can qualify for it. The precepts and philosophy of the prophet are so inspiring that when one hears and understands, and what does understand mean?
Support.
To support it. So when one hears and support this, that what the prophet is saying, they find themselves benefited immediately. So what I've just told you is that you won't die, you're gonna live forever. And it's don't fear death. And as soon as you support that with your actions, you will benefit immediately. That's what the prophet has said to us. So it's up to us to live a life with joy and pleasure and understanding. Right now I'm fasting, but I feel great. So do I need all of the Twinkies and all of that? All in the middle of the day? Do I need the Twinkies? Why am I mind on Twinkies anyway? See, I'm a victim. I'm a victim already. There's a lot. But we fasting and we finding all these wonderful things out that we can do a lot more than we think we can. We've been able to go out walking 2 or 3 times a week now. We've been doing that, so we try to make that regular. And we invite you all to come out and walk. And I know y'all see it on the WhatsApp saying we go and walking. Come on out, be with us. And I think we both put on deodorant. I'm telling you,
it was cool. You know?
So y'all
The
can come
mosquitoes
out.
wasn't that bad. Well, at the one park it was.
It just made us turn around. We got
It was
into
like,
one
it looked
area
like
like,
a
oh,
U-turn.
yeah, we had to come back. They was like coming diving at you. But in any event, these are the things that we can do together that's healthy for us, is walking. And I've decided to make that my pet peeve, something that I'm gonna, I guess it's not a pet peeve, it's just a pet project. How about that? Yeah, it's not, but no, I do have a pet peeve though. When I'm on the WhatsApp,
Only one?
for right now, the one for now, is when I'm on the WhatsApp and I'm telling y'all, come on, and y'all ain't saying nothing.
He is telling the truth.
Right.
He has his pet peeve where if he puts something out there and no one responds, he side WhatsApps me and says, you need to respond to this so they will respond too.
Like somebody needs to come on in. Really? I'm like, really? It doesn't matter if you don't want to do the thing.
You mean, no, he just wants a response.
You can say, oh, okay, I'll go next week, or I ain't coming. Or, right, they like, hey, I ain't saying nothing because he gonna try to convince me to go. No, I'm not gonna convince you to go. There is no compulsion
In this way of life.
this way of life. There's no compulsion. If you just feel bad because you know you really ain't doing nothing you should be doing, then I understand. Then just don't do it. Just sit at home and suck your thumb.
And the last day was rough because it didn't either one of us. We wanted to go, but then we really didn't want to go. Then it started raining. And I was thinking, I know right now she thinking about not going, but if I don't show up, she gonna be there. I'ma show up.
And she had the reverse thought of that.
I did.
When we got there, it was good. But then, so do we have any questions? Any comments or anything, particularly about death or anything? Do you have anything? Because people look at death as this tyrant, you know what I'm saying? But Jesus said that it is the truth that you can conquer death. He said, death is the conqueror of men. Can we read that part again? He said, death is the conqueror of men. He said that, it says, it's 13, it's in chapter 19, 13. They put me in a tomb and then I wrestled with the conqueror of men. I conquered death. So the fear of death leads you to get conquered. The conqueror of men is death. That's what conquers you. If you believe that you're gonna die, it's over with, you're done. Don't believe it. It's like a boxer going to the ring knowing he's gonna lose. He gonna lose.
He thought about it.
He got to at least go in thinking I'm gonna win. I got this. I got some move. He might get knocked out, but you know what I'm saying? But he still got the first step gotta be is he has to believe that he's gonna win. So you have to believe that you're not going to die. If you don't, you believe you that body. And you're in danger.
And you're confining yourself.
To a very small space. And it's a gigantic world out there. And you couldn't even if I had all the money in the world, I still couldn't travel everywhere I wanted to travel with this body. It's a hindrance. I go everywhere without it though. Now, that's why those prophets travel without their body. It takes too long with your body. Yeah, you might think something
Airport
going
or something else.
on. So did anybody any questions or anything about that? And you can think of these questions if you're online or anything. You can text me or you can email me these questions about this because you may think of something and go back a little bit and decide you want to ask it. You can text me the question or email me the question, or if you got a statement, something you can, or something that you feel that might make this particular section of this class better. Then you can send that also through WhatsApp or through the text or through, you can email us, you know. If you have any kind of problem whatsoever, you can always call Chris, Gray L at, no, I'm just.
Dot.
So, if we have no questions, we can conclude for the day. Hey.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, so we're gonna conclude, that's it. We'll have a prayer and close out. And if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to come up. We'll be hanging about for a while. Islam? All right, brother.